Greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right show. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Sam at whatsrightshow.com is my email. Okay, I have a thank you that I need to express to each and every one of you, together with an announcement. The thank you comes for all of you, each and every one of you, making this show number one in market here in Las Vegas, number one talk in the Valley. I mean, it's a tremendous honor. The numbers have come out again, and we are doing phenomenally well. So it's not me, it's you. I'm humbled. I really am. I don't know how to express this. I just have no words, and I'm grateful that we get to spend this time together every day, every weekday, talking through the issues facing us. Now, the announcement that I have is that, I've been struggling a little bit to figure out what to do next. This program is a labor of love for me, and I be honest, I want to have it be more effective, more user-friendly. And, after thinking about this quite a bit, I have decided that starting next month, and I'll give you all the details here in a minute, but we're basically going to move this program to a podcast. We will still air an hour of radio every day, Monday through Friday, here on News Talk KXNT. And we're going to do this. I realize we've got our listeners in California. You'll also get the show for an hour. And here's what's important. You can listen to it on the radio, and it'll be there. And starting February 16th here in Las Vegas, it'll be 6 p.m. instead of 1 to 3. And we'll announce the timing for the podcast as we get closer. We're working out some of those details, but you'll have the podcast. And the best part about it is the podcast will have extra material in it from time to time. We'll have interviews. I get requests for interviews all the time. There's some interesting people I'd like to talk to, particularly, for example, here in Nevada, as we are heading into a busy midterm season. We're going to have primaries in June. And I want to talk to the Republican movers and shakers, and I want to get these folks on my show. And the format, I'll be honest, radio format is very constricting. To interview somebody, you got a 10-minute segment. You can stretch it to 12, 13, then they start to get kind of grumpy with me. And that, you find you just start talking to somebody. You said, hey, come on, can you hold on for a minute? I got to go to break. And I don't like that. And it's not a good experience. And particularly when now the technology allows for beautiful audio and even video format to be sent to each and every one of you to your respective devices, be it a desktop computer, an iPad, or a phone. So please do me a favor. We already have a podcast. The show already is on a podcast. Many of you listen to the show already. And instead of 2 40-minute shows, it's going to be one, right? 2 40-minute hours, it'll be one. And if you don't subscribe to the What's Right show, I'll remind you periodically here over the next few weeks. I'll remind you to do this. Go to Apple, go to Spotify, go to X, go to YouTube, Rumble, anywhere you get your podcast, we're there. And if you would like the links sent to you, email me. Again, Sam at whatsrightshow.com. Send me an email, and I'll respond with instructions on what to do. All right? But it's still, I'm going to be here. I'm going to do the show. I'm just going to, I got to embrace the new frontier of technology. And the reality is that even though I grew up listening to AM radio and in love with the format of radio, it's really not where the future is. And so it's time to emphasize this new format and embrace it. And I'm going to do that because I'm a modernist, folks, and I'm going to adapt to it. And it's a funny thing because it's the same, but you're killing it. You're killing. Your ratings are great. Everything. I get that, but I've got an idea of how to elevate this to the next level, and I hope that you join me in that journey, and that we continue to remain connected each day. And I actually think for a lot of folks out there, it's going to be a little bit easier to take in 35, 40 minutes of content rather than the entire 2 hours. So I think it's going to be a net positive. Please drop me your thoughts, of course, if you agree or disagree. I'm always happy to hear from you, and I respond to those emails personally. So go ahead and fire away. Send me what you think, and again, if you want even just directions on what to do, sam@whatsrightshow.com. All right, now let me tell you, it's getting wild out there. Dare I say the Insurrection Act might be invoked soon. You know, the left is, I almost feel that these anti-ICE, and they're organized, right? This is Antifa. These are groups that have organized an insurrection against federal law enforcement. And you'll see that in these incidents that are occurring, I mean, there's a horrific assault last night with this was in Minneapolis. It's a horrible, horrible thing. There's a guy an illegal alien from Venezuela. He was released into the country in 2022 under Biden, and he tried to evade arrest. Okay, and he's fleeing the scene, and as he's fleeing the scene, his car crashes into a parked car. Then gets out. He starts running, and the law enforcement officer, the ICE agent who caught up to him on foot, attempted to place him under arrest when he got attacked by two of these crazy, insane leftists. I think one of them had a snow shovel. A snow shovel's a big, heavy metal shovel. I mean, you kill somebody with that. So the agent, fearing for his life, fired defensive shots. He struck, I think it was two individuals. One was the initial subject, the illegal alien who did the runner. It got the guy in the leg, and he also hit one of they're being called protesters. This is an assailant of a law enforcement officer who is attempting to murder him. I mean, there's no other words. And then, of course, you've got these videos coming out of law enforcement officers, their vehicles, ICE vehicles, Department of Homeland Security vehicles getting surrounded by mobs. Officers forced to retreat, to flee themselves. These mobs then breaking into the vehicles, opening. There's video of them pulling out, yanking out the gun safe, the locker where firearms are held. I mean, this is utter lawlessness. This isn't protest. This is terrorism. And this is the state of the new Democratic Party. And Governor Walz and Mayor Frey own this. This is their doing. Because when you look at these videos and you read about these incidents, where are Minneapolis cops? Where are they protecting these officers? They're nowhere to be found. And it's beyond just Walz, Frey, and other Democratic politicians using hateful rhetoric and whipping everybody, stirring everybody up into a frenzy. It's beyond that. It's the fact that they have told their police, be it city police or state police officers, to stand down as their law enforcement colleagues are viciously attacked. Walz and Frey, together with the Democratic Party at large, have blood on their hands. That's it. There's just no other way of putting it. So you know what the percentages? They're calling it a 1,300% increase in assaults against feds. So they're putting their life. They got a legitimate alien, criminal alien that they're looking to arrest, to apprehend, and they go to arrest him, and the entire attempt to effect a lawful arrest gets interrupted and violently interrupted by these trained professional adjutants. This is why Trump today is threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act. And remember, the Supreme Court gave Trump a little, slap on the wrist there for deploying the National Guard. And you heard over and over again Tim Walz saying, we don't need the National Guard here. We don't need this. We are fine. We got things under control. Well, under control to Tim Walz means an open season on federal law enforcement. Because what Tim Walz cares about first and foremost is not breaking open and by any kind of border enforcement, any kind of law, any kind of federal oversight of the rampant criminality in his state. It's the basis of pure political power for the Democrats. Quick break. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Here is the video of protesters, so-called protesters, and yes, Bruce, I agree, Bolsheviks, actually, out in the street breaking into a law enforcement vehicle, pulling out a gun safe using a tow rope. Sam Mirejovsky here, by the way, on the What's Right Media Network. Here's what the scene looked like.
Hey, don't hit them.
They're breaking into a gun safe? I thought the left was all about gun safety and taking guns off the street. Here, perfectly fine. A Democratic Party, which is, of course, responsible for running the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota, with these violent criminals stealing guns and arming themselves. This is absolutely frightening. I hope Trump does deploy the National Guard. Screw it with the Supreme Court. Do it and ask permission later. By the time it gets out there and any rulings are made on it, you can have the whole mess cleaned up. Yeah, I wonder what the logic is going. I wonder what the administration is talking about, because I know Trump is obviously, I can imagine, itching to do something about this. Trump is not going to go back to the summer of George, when Minneapolis burned and cities across America were destroyed by these left-wing fanatics protesting the death of St. George Floyd. So no doubt he's gonna figure this out. By the way, they broke a group of these Antifa affiliated agitators called Midas Touch, and they stole a bunch of documents from the car they broke into, the Department of Homeland Security vehicle, and they've got judges' phone numbers that they released. FBI, listen to this. And by the way, they're putting it all on camera. We have blurred the image, obviously, to protect the identities of the individuals listed.
Is it live?
Yeah.
In the original shooting that happened here tonight, the ICE agent vehicles that were parked on the street in the shooting, they had to leave their cars behind because they got surrounded by protesters. One of the ICE agent vehicles got broken into, and I found this paperwork. It has a list with FBI operation info. It's got full names of FBI agents, phone numbers, emails. There's maps on where they're staying, where they're holding immigrants. There's hotel names in there. There's judge names. This paperwork has people's full names and their emails. Operational posture. This is how they're supposed to stand and how they're supposed to handle protesters. This is the transport of immigration targets. This is a map showing you where they're taking immigration targets and instructions on how to get into the building, on what they're supposed to do on booking.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. And in the wake of this happening, what does the governor do? What does the governor last night issue by way of a chief executive, I'm the boss of the state message? Because I don't know what do you think about this, but generally speaking, I don't think it's a good idea that we be releasing judges' information and officers' information. But this is a revolution. I told you folks, I said this at the end of last year. I said we were in the midst of 2025 would be remembered as the beginning of the American Communist Revolution. And I wasn't joking. I didn't say the success of the revolution was pre-decided and it was predetermined. I happen to remain optimistic that we find our bearings and certainly not fall to this, but we are. I mean, this is what it is. These people are absolutely intent at subverting the rule of law, and to what purpose? Well, it seems obvious. Their entire reason for doing this is to protect their political interests in the state. And here's what Tim Walz said. Just absolute idiot.
Tonight, I want to share another way you can help. Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
I think they're doing that. What a dummy. I mean, well, I guess what I'm saying is there's literally, as he's recording this message, these events that I just played are occurring. And the governor is encouraging people to film ICE and provide evidence for future prosecutions. Okay. What they're doing is filming themselves engaging in rampant criminal activity and stuff that's going to put them away for 20 plus years. I mean, these are serious crimes. Attempt murder on a federal officer is, you're going to go to prison for a while, folks. And I think that's the best part about this. These dummies are filming themselves doing it. You know what I love? I love that the left spent 5 years, still talks about, berates us about January 6th. How you need to adhere to the rule of law, that any attacks on federal officers, any law enforcement is just beyond the pale. That Brian Sisnick, or whoever his name was, turning him into a folk hero, right? A martyr. All we heard about post-January 6th is how important the authority of the United States was, and that anybody that interfered with that authority, if you don't like it, vote. But what you don't get to do is change a political will of the country with your mob vote, mob violence. It's what we heard all the time. It was just incessant. These same people have flipped the switch now completely. They're out there assaulting cops and filming themselves doing and giving themselves attaboys. Absolutely spectacular. It's not going to go well. Tim Walz just, I think, shot himself in the foot. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network, Sam at what'srightshow.com. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. A word about Sam and Ash Injury Law. Folks, I always say this, don't go at it alone. Don't try to do it on your own. It's going to take a lot of your time, a lot of frustration, and at the end of the day, you'll be upside down, owing money, actually, for something that you did not cause, that you're not responsible for. Now, whether it's a car accident, a premises liability case, or other type of injury, talk to a good lawyer, talk to Sam and Ash Injury Law, find out what your rights are. At the very least, get some advice before you go off and try to, do it on your own. But I'm here to tell you, every day, every week, we talk to people here who have tried, who do everything right, who practice the golden rule, come to the insurance company, even their own insurance company, with palms up and get screwed. Don't be a victim twice. Don't get used by these people. Know your rights. Get help. Sam and Ash Injury Law. 702-820-1234. That's our Nevada number. 800-304-2000. If you're out in California, you can use either number. Doesn't matter. Goes all to the same place. samandashlaw.com. Because you deserve what's right. Now, I saw just before I went on air a thing on X. I just retweeted it for those that follow me at What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. A video of a show, Menoto News. It's an Iranian language show, which I believe is based in the UK. And it moved me to tears. I'm not going to play it here. I mean, it's all in Farsi, so, just not going to. But anyway, there are subtitles. A young woman calls into a show, her to the show, and basically bravely reporting on what's going on in the country. And I'll say this, regardless of what you think we should do, the big story today is that Trump sort of last minute pulled back a strike on Iran, thinking it wouldn't be successful. But regardless what you think Trump should or should not do, this is powerful stuff. And you realize, back to what I said yesterday, we live in the most amazing country, even on our worst day. This young woman is pleading with a trembling voice. Her father is a prominent commander in the IRGC. So he's part of the repressive apparatus that is killing and beating up and arresting dissident protesters. And she wants the regime to be over. And apparently she was caught with some of the protesters and arrested. Her father came to free her. Then he beat her to a bloody pulp. But she talks a lot about, to me, one of the takeaways from this is really the regime is frantically holding on to power. And yes, the perfect scenario, if I could pick, is for it to all just collapse under its own weight and for these brave protesters to succeed in toppling their government. Getting enough people who are propping up the regime to defect and turn sides and join with the people. I mean, that would be an ideal solution. I tell you, if there's a target that can destabilize the regime and allow the Shah, the rightful ruler of Iran, to come back and form a coalition temporary government, guardianship government, I think that would be a great solution. I will follow this. I am following it. I'm just telling you that this was what? How long was it? It's gosh, 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes. This phone call, and it's the moderators of the show are just, you can tell, are visibly affected by it, and they, she just, in one part, she says, I just feel so insignificant. I feel so inadequate. I just feel like such a weak person. And they all start shaking their heads and they say, no, you're a lioness. You're so brave because you're getting the word out. You're risking your life to call us here, and you're giving us your name. Please, this is everything. But we talk a lot about our government here in the U.S. being repressive and being a terrible government, and historically lying to us as Americans and repressing us. It hasn't been perfect. I talked a lot about this yesterday, but I think people have no idea here what living in a totalitarian regime, under a totalitarian regime, is like. I just don't think Americans can grasp it. And I say you because I was born here. I've lived only in America. But I heard so much about it from my parents and other immigrants from Eastern Europe and from Russia, of what it was like growing up under communism, under Stalin. So it's in my blood. And I'd share some of these stories with people, and it's like they can't wrap their heads around it. For example, it was completely normal. My father growing up, for him and his family to be followed by the secret police, which was the STB in Czechoslovakia, just absolutely normal. And they'd toy with them. Sometimes they would find my grandfather was a Protestant minister, so he was a subversive, a man of God, and he was a truth teller, and certainly wouldn't bend the knee to the regime. So they would follow him and just harass him endlessly. Pull him into the police station for questioning. My mother's family, secret police, pulled up to her uncle's house, packed everybody up, put them in a truck, sent him off to work in a prison mine camp, right? Concentration camp. After World War II. His family didn't see him for years. Came back a broken, cancer-riddled man. I mean, the stories are just, they go on and on. Yeah, well, I still think one of the most shameful things that has happened in my lifetime is the treatment of January 6th prisoners in this country. But I do not dispute that. But still, orders of magnitude better treatment than the worst of the worst, what you can imagine happening. So anyway, these people are very brave, and my heart goes out to them. My goodness, wow. So yeah, I know. Look, the Venezuelan oil. There's been some developments here too. We got our first $500 million worth of Venezuelan oil. Some of the proceeds are being held in Qatar. So it's some kind of curious financing arrangement, but nonetheless, America getting something out of this. I like it. I was thinking about the Venezuela oil situation. One thing that's really critical, and it came out last week in the press conference that they had at the White House with the heads of the various oil companies, and a number of them said, listen, we are looking for long-term stability. We need long-term stability. We've already, I forget if it was Chevron or ExxonMobil that they got up and said, we've already had our factories nationalized twice in Venezuela. So you imagine, you're an oil producing giant company like ExxonMobil, for example. You go and you build infrastructure, and then somebody just takes it from you. This is why Southern America, South America, right? Countries in South America have economies that are, most of them are crap compared to what they should be. And they're crap because they keep flirting. It's this perennial flirtation with socialism. And these governments come in and they you don't know if you're a foreign power, if a foreign company, you're investing in well, it doesn't matter, in Colombia, in Chile, right? I mean, Chile almost went into socialism if it were not for Pinochet. But you go Colombia, certainly. You go into Uruguay. You go into Venezuela. There's cautionary tales everywhere. Companies go in and then end up losing everything. That happens once, you're not likely to do it again. Twice, almost unthinkable. So, yeah, it'll be a curious situation. I'm still telling you, we have this thing where we expect everything to resolve at the end of every episode. It's a very uniquely American thing because we tune into the episode, you watch, the 50-minute episode, and at the end of the episode, there's some resolution, and there's going to be a next one in a week. And that's what we intend to sort of solve really big, weighty problems in that attention span, right? And that's not how it works, because Trump today met with the Venezuelan gal who is the opposition leader. She's the one who's wants to give her Nobel Peace Prize to Trump, and a phenomenally bright woman, incredibly brave, was in the opposition government in the lower chamber of the representatives, House of Representatives there, as a member of parliament, even under Chavez, and stood up to Chavez. I mean, this lady's got balls of steel. But Trump's progressing, and Rubio, they're progressing very carefully, and they don't want abrupt regime change and have the whole country sort of come apart at the seams. So Delcy Rodriguez, who's the number 2 under Maduro, she is the die-in-the-wool Bolshevik hardliner. Trump giving her an opportunity to serve out a term and establish elections and see to it that there's some sort of legitimate transfer of power. So it's not going to happen overnight, folks. But even with the state-run oil producers, a point is that the Trumpster always gets his pound of flesh. He said he was going to get some oil. He got some oil. $500 million's nothing to sneeze at. My guess is it covers the cost of our ongoing operation down there. So there's that. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Back in a moment. All right, Jack, I got your email here about Trump's blank on Iran. The really interesting word, right? The planes basically were in the air and turned around. That's what happened. I mean, it came that close. So there's people that understand far better than I what's happening with all of this. And there's some, I don't want to say leaks, but there are some people who are analyzing this and are, I think, on the right page. Let me tell you, I've digested it. And I think the strike was real. I think that the reversal was real. And that there actually was a go signal sent, right? They said, we're going to do this because, I mean, literally they had planes in the air. And there are logs, people are reporting that the logs show that the mission's called off. So that's a very specific thing. And the reason for this is that something happened behind the scenes. That's fair to say, right? What do you think that is? Some people are reporting that there's that a back channel was established through Pakistan. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, maybe Egypt, all, intervened, right? And got involved. The UN Security Council, but they were going to have an emergency session, and it was a trigger, but it also fell off calendar, right? You had this airspace closure, rerouting commercial flights. The military was on, well, at the very least on full standby. It was all pretty real. And then, something something happened, right? You remember Trump goes on camera and he says, "Don't do it. Don't kill any people, or I'm going to, come after you and blow you to smithereens." And Iran blinked, right? Iran blinked. Now you're going to say, "Well, Sam, how do you know that they blinked?" Well, the last couple days have been relatively quiet, and the Iranian regime, obviously, if they're talking to Trump, is buying time. And Trump, he keeps his cards to his chest a little bit, right? He holds them back, but at the same time, he talks. He has a great way of talking, and so he was saying on Air Force One just the other day how he's like, they've got my message. They know what I'm talking to them. They're freaking out, right? He's saying this about Iran, and again, wouldn't we like to, if I'm talking about my dream of the regime collapsing and having the people of Iran to select a new government, the way that people in Poland and in Czechoslovakia and in East Germany, after the fall of their communist dictatorship governments, selected new governments. Because there were leaders that were opposition leaders in those countries who had legitimacy. In my parents' country, in Czechoslovakia, the man's name was Václav Havel. And he was, a well-respected playwright, very intelligent man, and somebody who had been an active dissident, had signed the Charter of 77, and had been, of the face of the opposition to the Soviet government, communist government, for many years. So, and other countries had other. So, the Iranians are not, cave dwellers in Afghanistan. The Persians are a noble and sophisticated people. Have a little faith. But if we can achieve regime change without dropping a single bomb, just by flexing our muscle and making them think we're ready to go, we're going for you. We know where the Ayatollah is, the way we knew where Maduro was, and we're going to get him. We're going to snatch him by his beard and whisk him up in a helicopter with 80 frogmen, or deploying sonic weapons like they did in Caracas. I mean, these people, they're freaking out. And Trump now controls the pace of escalation. And what's Iran doing? They're just, these Ayatollahs, the regime leaders are buying time. They're sending smoke signals. They're talking through intermediaries, right? This is what they're doing. And if either they're evacuating or they're preparing some kind of a firewall, those are both weak moves. Those are both moves that people make when their collapse is imminent. And so, so all I'm saying is, right, it's, I don't know. I'm not in the situation room, okay? But a lot of smart people out there who analyze these types of conflicts say that this is sort of how they think it's coming together. And I'm inclined to believe that, because Trump is not an Obama, okay? And Trump is not going to let these Ayatollah types run roughshod over him. And he's not going to allow red lines be trampled over and then ignored and then let to be ignored, right? He's just not going to allow that. So it's just, I mean, look, if you can achieve the same thing without dropping a single bomb, saves a lot of money, saves a lot of headache, problems, and responsibility. And everything's a negotiation at Trump. It all is a negotiation. We finally have a real negotiator in the White House. I can't think who has been president in the last 30 years with this kind of negotiating prowess. I had lunch today with my friend Ed. I should have asked Ed, because he worked in the Nixon White House, if Nixon was a tough negotiator. I think some people say he was. But that'd be, I don't know, but it was Reagan. Reagan knew how to get people down and how to go back and forth with them, and he did it with Gorbachev, certainly. Right, and Gorbachev's a tough cookie. You get into those early Gorbachev Reagan meetings. I mean, it was not easy. But Biden and the people around him, Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, wet noodle, complete, Mr. Limpy. I mean, he's got Justin Trudeau energy. Oh, speaking of, Mark Carney from Canada went to China. He went to China hat in hand. Let's do business. What kind of a deal you think he's going to negotiate? China knows. Canada basically is screwed and needs Europe or China or bust. Carney's certainly, screwed the pooch when it comes to Trump and the U.S. So I'm just saying, Carney's not going to get a great deal from the Chicoms. No question about that. All right. Find the podcast, folks. I'll repeat the announcement again at the top of the hour. At What's Right Show. Find it wherever you get your podcasts. Click to subscribe so you can follow the show when we convert to an all podcast format. Be right back. Greetings and welcome to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism here on the What's Right Media Network. Now, I announced this last hour, and I'm going to continue to announce this in the next few weeks. That is that while our ratings here continue to climb, and we do phenomenally, thanks to each and every one of you that listens, we are going to be changing some things up starting on the 16th of February. The What's Right Show will be carried via podcast primarily. It'll be a 40-minute podcast, and it'll be turned into an hour of radio. And that hour of radio will, for example, here in Las Vegas, air at 6 p.m. So you'll have the show at 6 p.m. You can listen to it on the radio, but the real party is going to be online. And there's a number of platforms that you can get the show on. Many of you already do that. You follow the podcast. The podcast will be about half the length that it currently is, and it'll be more jam-packed with content. So you'll get more in less time. I think most of you will appreciate that, but let me know what you think. I certainly would love to hear from you. If you need help knowing where to get the podcast, how to get the podcast, etc., send me an email. And I or producer Robbie will get back to you quickly. Sam@whatsrightshow.com is my email, sam@whatsrightshow.com. And yeah, I mean, one of the things too is, most of these platforms, for example, on Spotify and on X, you can see me, right? I've got video. Sometimes I even get dressed up for you. Today I'm in a suit and tie. Had some real lawyering to do. So anyway, you can see me here. You could play these, when I play these clips that you hear on the radio as audio, they actually are video clips. And the team here puts a lot of effort and time into this, creating quality content. And I just think it's a better experience online. Plus you can listen to me whenever. You're not stuck, wedded to a block of time where you've got to make sure you're available to catch the program. So again, the What's Right Show, find it Apple Podcast, Spotify, Rumble, X, YouTube. Look for it in those places. Subscribe. And what'll happen too is there will be interviews that I do that don't get aired in the hour that are extras. It's bonus material. And you're not going to want to miss those. So even if you're going to stick to the radio thing, I highly suggest you subscribe so you get updates and when that bonus content has hit. All right. Welcome. I'm good to be here. Beautiful day. But if you're not in Las Vegas, I'm actually sorry for you. Because yesterday too, absolutely gorgeous days. My gosh, yesterday was 75. I had a business meeting, but with a dear friend that I've done work with over the years, and he came down to visit with me and stay with me. And after our meetings in the afternoon, we went down to the Strip and we went on a long walk. I got, I think, 12,000 steps, Robbie, not bad. And we walked from City Center, right? So where Aria is, all the way down to the end of the Forum Shops. If you know a little bit about the Strip and sort of wove our way through there back and forth. And I haven't done that in a long time. When I first moved to Nevada, and my family, kids were still, and Sherry were home in California at the time. And I moved to Nevada to get the firm set up and everything. And I would live here during the week and I'd come home on the weekends. It was absolutely brutal. And then COVID hit in the middle of it. I mean, it was just a mess. And I remember I would do, before COVID shut everything down, it was like my walk at the end of the day. Just me. I didn't have anything to do. And I had to move after sitting on my rump all morning and all day. So I would head out and I'd do these walks, and it was a very odd thing. But anyway, just sharing it with it. Every time we walked outside of a casino and we were somewhere like by the Bellagio Lake, and we're walking by there, it just was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. After the cold spell, much needed. So I keep telling you what this ICE thing is all about. I keep explaining it, that it's a Democrat. This is almost the thing in Minnesota. And it's, I understand this is not, this is apples and oranges, but hear me out. The Ayatollah in Iran, that horrible, corrupt regime that is just, it's hanging by a thread. And that's Tim Walz right now. That's the whole Democratic machine in Minnesota. And Democrats across the country are looking at what's going on in Minnesota, and they're going, well, we sure as heck don't want this to happen, where we're at. People in California are freaking out. And by people, of course, I'm being loose with my words. I mean, Gavin Newsom. So anyway, here's, let me just give you a gist of what this is all about. Now, I'm going to start giving you some statistics. And you have to understand, I'm warning you against using these statistics in public. If you use these statistics in public, you will be accused of being a racist. I guarantee it. Now, the reason for this is simple. We are told repeatedly by our friends on the left that math, in fact, is racist. So if you qualify any statistics and you use numbers, especially when they tell a nasty story that is inconvenient to Democratic Party orthodoxy, they will immediately start slinging the slurs. I want to look at welfare rates in Minnesota. And here's how this really began. I was tooling around and figuring out, I'm curious just to what extent only the Somali community, all right? I'm not talking about the Venezuelan gangbangers. I'm not talking about people from other, immigrants, legal and illegal, first generation, and either native born or foreign born immigrants. How much of them have taken over Minnesota? So I'm just talking about the Somalis. Let me tell you about these numbers. There is a lot of them. Okay. There are probably here about 107 to 108,000 either. It's Somali, either foreign-born or first-gen immigrants residing in Minnesota. I'm just going to say this. Tim Walz in 2022 won by a margin of 192,000 votes. So you got to understand the importance of this voting block. You've got 100,000 people. There's 40,000, 50,000 of them, let's say, vote legally or illegally, right? Guaranteed in a place like that. And that is 1/4 of your margin of victory. It's an enormously important political constituency. You see what I'm saying? Now, here's where the math starts to get a little bit uncomfortable for folks. When you look at what the U.S. Census Bureau, the ACS survey, American Community Survey under the Census Bureau, what their analysis last year shows about government subsidies, welfare, public benefits, etc., of the Somali immigrant households in Minnesota, it's not me, this is not my math, this is the government's math, and probably stuff that was mined under the Biden administration. 81% of Somali immigrant households in Minnesota receive some form of support. 54% of them are on SNAP, 73% are on Medicaid, 27% are on cash welfare. When you start to look at households with children, the rate of Medicaid, rises to 89%. And you compare that. Look at the native-born households. So now we're just comparing immigrants, I don't want to say straight out the boat, but people who've come here who've not been born. Non-native born, native born. Only 21% of native-born households in the state receive any welfare. 7% get food stamps. 18% are on Medicaid. So this is, and by the way, this data is pulled from 2014 to 2023, so it covers Obama, Trump, and Biden administrations. There's a robust sample size here. But Sam, what does welfare have to do with anything? Well, I've always told you the Democrats buy their votes. They buy their political constituencies. I mean, stand back for a second and say, what the hell are we doing importing people where 80% of them plus need government support? Who needs these immigrants? What the hell is this? Come to our country, work hard, pay taxes, contribute. That I can get behind. That is an immigration platform that I love. That's what my parents did. That's what many of your parents did. Many of you who listen to this program are not native born, have come to America, love this country. You didn't come here with your hand out. You didn't come here going, give me money. You came here for opportunity to do something. And this is why Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are fighting so hard for these people. They're ready to kill ICE officers just to save their own political necks. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. I'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Hi, Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. So Jacob Frey yesterday held a press conference. In it, by the way, he said some curious things. He's got the police chief standing next to him. The Minneapolis police chief, Jacob Frey, of course, mayor of Minneapolis. The guy who, in a full mask, knelt and cried at the coffin of George Floyd. Now, standing up there like a big boy with the police chief next to him saying, hey, we're going to have our police fight ICE officers. And when he said it, the police chief of Minneapolis, raised his eye. There was a reaction. I was like, what the hell? I'm going to go fight law enforcement? Are you mental? And then there was this wonderful, incredible line. And this is, imagine you're a Minnesotan. You've been there generations. You're a taxpayer. You work hard. Yeah. Life is hard. Economies go up. They go down. You raise your family. And all of a sudden, the Democrats start bringing in a bunch of people from parts of the world that are foreign to you. And these people come in and form insular communities within your community. They bring all sorts of strange customs from their homeland, chief among them doing nothing and collecting public benefits. I don't know. I just read the statistics before. Over 80% of foreign-born Somalis in Minnesota on some form of public assistance. Compared that with only 23% of native-born Minnesotans. So this is just a staggering number. Democrats are buying voters. You soon realize this, right? You're a Minnesotan. You're like, oh, I see. They're taking my tax money and they're giving it to these immigrants. Most of them, a lot of them not doing anything, except apparently now we find out stealing billions of dollars. But I guess I'm just supposed to take this. How am I supposed to feel about that? You question it. You say, hey, what about these people? They're not doing a lot of work. They're taking a lot of money. You go, Sam, you can't say that. That's racist. This is almost comedy. Almost comedy. Here is Jacob Frey. Listen to this.
We have ICE agents throughout our city and throughout our state who, along with Border Control, are creating chaos. This is not the path that we should be on right now in America. Thankfully, there's another path. And I want to talk to everybody who's out there, even people who aren't living in Minneapolis right now. Maybe you just put your kids to bed. Maybe you're cleaning up the dishes. I'm sure you love your family. There's no doubt in my mind that you love your town. Imagine if that city or that town was suddenly invaded by thousands of federal agents that do not share the values that you hold dear.
Well, this is comedy. Is he joking? You're a native-born Minnesotan. You're a hardworking taxpayer. You and your family, your forebears, have been paying taxes in this state for generations. And all of a sudden, your town is invaded by a bunch of people Biden brought in. Actually started before Biden, started under Obama, flooded the state so that the Democrats could bulk up their numbers and build a unassailable vote advantage in the elections and basically take over the state. And then use their political power to give their base more and more goodies. We could put them all on welfare, right? Give them all public benefit, let them steal, let them rob the state blind, which is all part of this incredible scandal that's brewing down there. And then you've got your politician telling you, aren't you mad that these ICE officers are coming in and enforcing immigration law? This is so much, wow, I have no words. I have no words for this. No, it's absolutely astounding, folks, is what it is. Yeah, I mean, so when he says these people, these ICE officers don't share our values, what exactly are the values of people like Jacob Frey? Apparently, their value is fraud. Their value is crime. Their values consist of mooching off the government, doing nothing. Coming to a foreign country immediately with your hand out saying, gimme. I think it just offends me. Do you know how offensive this is for actual immigrants? Don't come at me with this is racist. Can you imagine people that have come to this country with their palms up going, give me an opportunity. Let me work. I'm going to work 2-3 jobs to make it happen. This isn't a race thing. There are black immigrants that come from countries, for example, in the Caribbean and other parts of Africa, come here and hustle their butts off. I think the whole joke of In Living Color, wasn't it? The Wayans brothers, the Jamaica guy who's like, I got 3 jobs, man. Oh, that nothing. I got 5 jobs. Remember that? That's immigration. well, I got these kids, let's put them on welfare and let's give them these public benefits and stack up all the bennies, work the bennies, the EBT cards. Oh, and by the way, we're going to start a leering center. We're going to do some good leering in this little center. Just send us the checks, write hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. No problem. We got this handled. These kids will be leering some real good leering. Of course, referring to the misspelled sign over one of the centers accused of being at the center of the fraud debacle there. Huge amounts, billions of dollars to these phony businesses, right? And the Democrats look the other way. Again, why? Voting bloc. That's it. Political power. The numbers don't lie. It's absolutely horrific. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Folks, I'll be back in a moment. Sam@whatsrightshow.com is my email. Email me if you've got questions about the new format come the 16th of February, moving to 6 o'clock and having the show be all podcast and that 1 hour of radio. So just drop me a line. Let me know. Imagine getting a bad injury. You go to the insurance company and you say, look, this happened to me. It happened to me at your property. In this case, it was a hotel. It happened at this hotel. I've gotten hurt. And they tell you to go pound sand. They say, nope, we're denying your claim entirely. Then you go to Sam and Ash Injury Law. And Sam and Ash get you $35 million. Why? Because that's what the injury was worth. It was a life-changing, horrible thing that happened to this client. And I give you this as an example because you think that if it comes to just your little car accident, they're going to be completely fair with you. They turn people down on the big, egregious stuff all day long, where it's open and shut, obvious. If they had written this guy a check for a few $100,000, he would have taken it. That's actually the real tragedy of it, right? These insurance companies are the worst. And on top of it, they will chase you. They will make you chase the money with sending you emails. Fill this form out. Fax it back. Fax, who has a fax machine? Okay, you got to go to Kink, wherever, someplace, and FedEx and fax it back. It's frustrating. Text messages, phone calls. We need to get a recorded statement. And they spend an hour with you trying to trick you. And, well, what exactly happened? And then they'll use your words against you. Don't fall into any of that trap. It's total garbage what they do. Sam Mirejovsky here for Sam and Ash Injury Law. I am the Sam of Sam and Ash Injury Law, so I can speak to this with some authority. I'm really good at what I do. And we're friendly. So that helps. Sam and Ash Injury Law. 800-304-2000. 800-304-2000. Offices in Nevada and California. No recovery, no fee. Right? No money out of pocket. It doesn't cost you anything to get the claim and case started with us. So there it is. 800-304-2000. Nevada, California, samandashlaw.com. Because you deserve what's right. All right. I like when it comes to this ICE debacle, I like what today Kristi Noem said, Department of Homeland Security Secretary said just outside of the White House. Funny how these ops, picking up illegal immigrants, arresting them, sending them back to where they belong. Funny how they're going well in red states. Funny how, for example, here in Nevada, we're not hearing anything about, major problems with ICE. Well, I'll tell you, here in Nevada, I mean, it's, if a federal agent is in trouble, Metro is going to come to his, here in Las Vegas, Metro is going to come to his aid. No two ways about it. Here's what Kristi Noem said earlier today.
If anything doesn't change with Governor Walz, I don't anticipate that the streets will get any safer or more peaceful. Governor Walz and his leadership team need to come to us and find out how we can work together like we have in many other states. We didn't see this kind of reaction in Louisiana when we ran our operations exactly how we are running them in Minneapolis, but we had a very different response because we had leaders that were working with us. If you saw our operations in Florida, extremely successful. In Minneapolis so far, we brought hundreds of criminals off the streets that were dangerous to society and dangerous to that community. We would wish that Governor Walz could take an example from the governor of Louisiana, the governor of Florida, and work with us to do the right thing for his people.
Astounding, isn't it? Absolutely astounding. Folks, it's simple, right? And the reason that the blue states aren't cooperating with ICE isn't so much ideological as they want to impede ICE. They want to hold on to their illegals because the illegals are there to help them win elections. That's it. That's the story, okay? My goodness. And you can hear it in their voices, but this is not just in Minnesota. It's everywhere across the country. You can hear it in their voices. And here's Ed Markey, who's the senator there from Massachusetts. Markey, of course, an avowed leftist. You can hear it in his voice. Fight ICE to the death, practically, is what he's saying.
So no funding for ICE. We just have to absolutely draw the line and not only say no funding for ICE, but we should begin an impeachment proceeding of Kristi Noem, who is right now actually orchestrating on the streets of our country this almost vigilantism on the part of ICE agents terrorizing cities all across the country, with right now Minneapolis being the prime example.
Yeah. We're mobilizing. We're fighting. This is the intifada from the river to the sea. These people are, I don't know. It's just what happens, if the Democratic Party starts to actually melt. You're just going to end up with a puddle of slogans. That's all there is. And what's great is we certainly have our slogans too, like Make America Great Again. It's a positive slogan. And it's an action plan, right? And every day I wake up and every day I look on X and I read, all the newspapers right and left. And I start very early in the morning, immediately get on my phone, my screen. Probably not the best thing for my eyes. Nonetheless, I do it for you folks. And I just immediately start to feel so good because I see that we have a president who we elected to make America great again, and he's doing it. Now, I know we want mass arrests. By the way, speaking of mass arrests, that haven't yet materialized quite yet, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Here is one of our favorites. And, well, Vicky, this one's for you. You know who you are. Jim Comey. Here is Jim Comey in the midst of the Biden years on Jen Psaki's insufferable program, getting interviewed, talking about how important it is that we go after every right-wing, anti-Biden, pro-Trump person out there. We ferret them out. Law and order is very, very important to the Democrats when it comes to defeating their political enemies, less so when it comes to creating a problem for them politically. Listen to this.
Do you agree with the strategy of focusing on the Oath Keepers and focusing on prosecuting that group of individuals first in order for it to be a deterrent?
You've got to throw the net wide, get all of them, both the organized groups, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, but find everybody who went into that building. Find them all. Again, not because of my concern that those people who committed a misdemeanor they're going to go into the community and reoffend. The message has to be sent of zero tolerance. We will find everyone and punish everyone who went in there so that no one does it again. We will hunt you to the end of the earth, even for a misdemeanor, and make you pay for that to send that message.
Okay. We're going to hunt you to the ends of the earth, even if it's just for a misdemeanor. You know that James Comey's FBI allowed Antifa to literally beat conservatives, pro-Trump people to a pulp. Portland, all over. Certainly didn't seem to be that rigorous of enforcement against Antifa when they were targeting conservatives. I know the case against Comey. I know that's one where they're regrouping on it. Trust me. I think if this guy is the biggest worthless sack of dog poop, and I hope he rots in hell. That's all I can tell you. This is everything that is wrong with our country right here in one person. The smugness, the elitism, the privilege. And I hate that word, right? I hate that word. But the political privilege that he has. The thing I love about Trump, even on the worst day, even when things aren't going well, the thing I like about Trump is that his victory in 2016 and then in 2024 is like salt on a snail for people like Comey and Clapper and Brennan and all these odious toads. It's just, this is, and I'll tell you this again, Vicky, I'll tell you this. On the worst day, even when you feel down that Trump isn't moving fast enough with all the things you want him to do, and I get it, even on the worst day, just think about how much Comey and Clapper and Brennan, just they're sitting around with clenching their jaws 24. Every time Trump goes on TV, they're just one part disgusted by him because it's such to them, to their elitist view of power and politics in this country, he is a low-class representation of someone impure storming their elite temple. And on the other part of it going, God, I wonder when the next shoe is going to drop from Pam Bondi and the DOJ. I'm just wondering when that's going to happen. Can I take a vacation this year? Or do I have to save some money in case I get hit with another indictment? I need to pay my lawyer a $500,000 deposit. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's a reframe. This is a classic Scott Adams reframe. Just look at it differently. And when you start to look at it like that, you start to get really happy, and you went from mad and sad to, a little pep in your step. I'm just trying to be helpful here, folks. And by the way, I am, by and large, an eternal optimist. You have to, forgive me that, but it's in my disposition to always hope for the best. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, I'm here. Fear not. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings from Las Vegas, Nevada. So here's Robbie and I talking during the break. You imagine if conservatives in red towns, right? In red rural towns, when they were getting picked up by FBI agents for literally, as Comey put it, misdemeanors. I'm glad he acknowledges that that's all it was, misdemeanors, misdemeanor trespass on January 6th. What if people in those communities had banded together and begun to resist the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and other federal law enforcement officers, much in the same way that Renee Good and her merry band of lesbian misfits did with ICE and are doing with ICE now? I mean, I think it would be a little bit of a set. It would turn into, Waco, 2.0, right? They'd have no mercy. They wouldn't let their vehicles get pummeled like this. It just wouldn't happen. Really rankles me, this. So That's, I'm just pointing this out. All right. I'm going to share this. I've got the fraud. I keep talking about the fraud in Minnesota, and I say the other shoe to drop is going to be California. A few of my friends, fellow media people who I love, are going out there getting these interviews and are going after the California thing. And I'm going to roll my sleeves up on it too. That's part of what I like about the podcast. I'll be able to do longer format discussions with people. So here is Grant Stinchfield. Love Grant, have been on his show many times, and Real America's Voice. And here's him talking to somebody very important. He's talking to David Tangipa, and he's a California assemblyman, so he's a Republican assemblyman, and he goes, so where's the fraud in California? Where would you look for the fraud in California? Grant asks this assemblyman that.
Is there one spot, Assemblyman, where you want to dig in that you think is ripe right now to expose?
I really do. One, there's a lot I've done on the on high-speed rail. I worked with Secretary Duffy, and the reason why they pulled back that $4 billion, here's one aspect I'll give you really quickly, is there's a clause in high-speed rail called non-execution of contract, where contractors are owed $170,000 a day if there are any delays whatsoever. We've been able to find out that over $800 million has been paid out on that clause, which means they paid $800 million for zero work to be done.
I bet those contractors have friends in the state government, don't you think? I bet those contractors are really close friends with Gavin Newsom and his pals. $800 million spent on contractors for just doing nothing. That isn't, folks, that's not a result of people being bad negotiators. That is purposefully done there to give kickbacks to political donors. I mean, I just, sorry. Now, John Cobelt, who is a talk show host in LA, I know John and his wife very well. He is an excellent radio guy. He had on a journalist 2 weeks ago on his show, Katie Grimes, on the California NGO fraud, right? The non-government operated companies that do the, basically homelessness and that kind of thing, get the monies to them. Here's how the interview, I just got to play this. It's so good.
Let's talk about the homelessness, because he has admitted that $24 billion in homeless money over the years has disappeared and it was spent, but nobody knows what it was spent on and if it did any good. And that's what this one fascinated me, because he actually admitted it.
Yeah, well, he only admitted to $24 billion. The state legislative analyst upped it to $37 billion. And that money disappeared into the black hole of newly created nonprofits and NGOs, non-governmental organizations. And those people hired, friends and family, and the CEO was making $250 a year, and they just would spend the money as fast as humanly possible.
Now, bingo, right? And they spend all this money on homelessness, and they still have homeless people everywhere crapping in the streets. It's what, happens in California. And she goes on.
One of these organizations in San Francisco, which is supposed to be providing free shots of alcohol to homeless alcoholics, and in 5 years, at $16 million a year, they've served 55 clients.
No, you're making that up. Wait, this is tax money, and it buys free shots of booze to street drunks.
Yes, and it's been going on for a number of years. It was an organization that already existed, but they beefed it up during COVID, ostensibly to keep these homeless alcoholics out of emergency rooms. And it's under the we're kind of trying to reduce harm to these people.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it is a good thing that they only served booze to just 55 homeless drunks. But, but still 16 million for 55 drinks. Those are some fancy cocktails. What were they? Maybe they had, was this the French Laundry? French Laundry's Michelin-starred restaurant in the greater San Francisco area, actually up in Napa. This is where Gavin Newsom famously had his royal dinner, just as everybody else was forced to stay home and shut down during COVID. Governor Newsom was dining at a couple $1,000s a plate in a private dining room at the French Laundry. So I joke because, of course, I'm sure they have some expensive cocktails, but I don't think they're hundreds of thousands of dollars each. It's fraud. It's all a open thieving and fleecing of the government, of us, of you and I. Because it's not just state money that goes in. You're probably thinking, well, I don't care about Minnesota. I don't care about California. But guess what? Do you pay federal taxes? Probably you do. I know I do. So it's federal money that gets allotted to these states for these different things. And then they come to you for your tax bill. What happens when you don't pay your taxes on time? I always love saying that. What happens when you don't pay your taxes? The government comes after you with the plunger. I don't want to get graphic, but it's not pretty. Meanwhile, half of Somalia is living high life in well, I was gonna not Mogadishu. That's somewhere else. No, it's living. It's Minneapolis. I mean, it's just a joke. And California, I'm telling you, California is going to be it's going to be an unbelievable amount of fraud. Unbelievable amount of fraud. All the Democrat pet projects, just giant, free money for friends and family. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Sam at what'srightshow.com. Email me. I will talk to you tomorrow.